Hello, DFS Army. CashKeg and Chop coming at you this afternoon on Tuesday, August 6, 2019. Hope all of you woke up to some green screens last night. I saw some early morning screenshots in our DFS Army VIP chat rooms, so hope some of those were you guys. Today, Chop and I will be reviewing our head-to-head cash game lineup from last night, looking at tonight's FanDuel slate, and answering any questions you might have. But before that, if you are not already following me on Twitch, please give me a follow and turn on those notifications so you know when I go live. Also, if you're not a subscriber to my Twitch channel, please give me a sub, as I'll be giving away some sweet DFS Army merch like this t-shirt I have on for my Twitch subs only starting this NFL season. For those of you on YouTube, I'd appreciate you if you hit the like and subscribe button below, which lets me know you want me to keep dropping these videos each day. Also, leave a comment below on which you think will be the highest scoring pitcher on today's FanDuel slate, because it's kind of a dumpster fire. All right, with that out of the way, Chop, let's talk about your epic comeback last night as you took me down in a head-to-head.
Epic comeback by 5 points. 5 points was a real smoke show.
Well, hey, man. Turner, I didn't expect that out of Turner, but you can get that every night out of him. That was the one guy I was sweating in that head-to-head with you.
A win's a win. Turner, for me, I liked that he correlated with Muncy, and to be honest with you, being a St. Louis guy, I know what Waka's about or is not about, and so it was pretty easy for me to look at his BVP at a 976 OPS and just go, Turner, as I remember, for recency bias, is a little bit of a cardinal killer. So if that's where we're going to be a little different, let's be a little different and hope it works. And it worked.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than my zero I got from Suarez.
Yeah, for me, it was either going to, I didn't have the money for it, but it was either going to be Turner or Moose.
Yeah.
Did you have him in your utility spot?
Not Moose. I had Reynolds because I had Peterson. I kept going back and forth a bunch. And for me, it was between Suarez and Moose. I wasn't really looking on Turner because I was looking at Muncy and Peterson at first in my cash lineups. Peterson, I kept going back and forth with because he was so cold over the last week or so.
He hit one too, though.
He did. No, I mean, he could hit one anytime. But he was so stinking cold that it was like, oh, screw it. Reynolds was hot over the last week. And I just went with him. He did well. He got 30 FanDuel points. But that zero from Suarez kind of sunk me. I still did well. I still made money last night, but not beating you, man, that's never fun to wake up to. So,
well, I'll tell you what I didn't like was at about 8 p.m., 8:30, something like that. I look, games are doing pretty well. Oh, yeah, it looks like we're having a pretty decent night. Fuck you, Keg, you're still ahead of me. I was like sweeping all of my head-to-heads. I was out way in front in my three-mans, and I was still trailing you by like 10 points. I was like, God, this sucks, man. I'm getting so sick of this shit.
Well, and the thing was, like, from when I dropped that sheet last night for cash games, the reason it's so important to be in our chat rooms is once we saw Mike Ford hitting fifth, at 2K, and the guy is, can smash the ball. And then, again, we had Aquino hitting the 4-hole. That one we knew about because that lineup dropped really early. And then Grisham, we didn't know if he's going to be leading off again or not, and they did. And then so those three were like easy plays. So it was a slate where, even the top-end pitching had some maybe a little bit difficult lineup. They all did really well. I don't think it really mattered what you do. You wanted Castillo in GPPs, and he was the lowest one owned. That's why it's good to go him. But in cash, Morton was just the easiest play to me for cash games. Either one of those guys, Giolito or Morton. To me, that was the guys to play in cash. And they both got about the same, like 44, 46, I think it was, Chop.
The only reason I was on Morton all day from the beginning. The only reason that I didn't like Giolito is a little bit of, trending. Lately, he's been trending down a little bit. The reason that I saw it was because of who he was facing. I think it was Detroit or something, where I was like, okay, I can see it. But I just felt like Charlie Morton was just the better player. And Castillo, I was like in that ballpark against LA, who doesn't typically strike out. Yeah, we can go diving into splits if we want to, but I mean, LA doesn't typically strike out, and I was like, I know he's got the upside to do anything, but he didn't. He feels like he had a lower floor than usual.
Sure.
So I was just like, it's not the cash play. So to me, it was either Morton or pay way down. And I looked down at like Tanaka and Turnbull and whatever, and it was just like, oh my God, it's trash down here. So no.
I think what made the decision easy is, like I stated with those 3 easy 2K cash plays.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, those guys dictated your lineup to just spend up in cash. Like, there's no reason to pay down, because if you throw those 3 guys in, Ford, Aquino, and Grisham, you could pay up for whatever you want in pitching, and you still had 3 to 4K per position to fill out the rest of your lineups. And so it was easy. And a lot of cash lineups, a lot of the sharp guys that was up against had something very similar, because FanDuel just kind of pushed it. I think Grisham and Aquino were like 70 to 80% owned in some of the 50-50s. Ford was a little lower than that, because I think that lineup came out a little bit later, and maybe he wasn't being talked up around the industry quite as much. But a lot of people had him. So then it comes down to, you got 1, 2, 3, basically 5 positions that you're trying to figure out, which you can spend up, and you could go in multiple different ways. There were so many different ways to go yesterday.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talked a little bit behind the scenes before we dropped those lineups, and for whatever reason, I wasn't loving the Boston. A lot of it was just recency. I know what the offense can do, but they seemed like they'd been a little bit cold lately. And so I was like, man, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right early in the day. And I was kind of sticking with that. I'm like, Yankees are all over the place. I should have a bunch of Yankees. And that's where I was planning on going. And then when I told you, I'm like, yeah, I totally faded Boston. So we'll see how this goes tonight. And you're kind of like, yeah, it's cash, dude. And I really quickly went and I looked and I was like, well, the only thing I haven't really looked at, because everywhere I started looking around, I'm like, everybody's talking Boston. Everybody's talking. See, this is when you need to be adaptable as a DFS player. And you may have your own thoughts early in the day, and they may be good thoughts, but as you start looking around a little more and looking around a little bit more, and you start hearing the same crap echoed over and over and over and over, you need to start listening to that if you're playing cash, because that ownership can insulate your game. It can get you down to 2v2 or 3v3 with most people, and you need to be ready to go look. So when I went over and looked, I was like, well, let me go check Boston just really, really quick. And I saw Mike Montgomery, and I went, uh-oh, that dude's got like a astronomical ERA right now. And then I went and looked at the IRT from Vegas. It was over 7. I was like, oh, shit. I've got to readjust. I've got to put a couple of Boston dudes in there and switch that lineup around. And like you said, with a couple of the punt plays, the Min-Sal guys, right in the hearts of big orders, I was like, it's kind of easy to go get what you need to get now. And I can have a little New York. I can have a little Boston. I can pick up an LA guy. And it just built itself from there. You can't shut your mind off at noon and say, okay, this is where I'm rolling today, because it just doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And it was like, when I said that, it was like, I've noticed lately we've been playing ahead, your cash lineups have gotten more cashy, but still with that chop upside to a few of the plays. And I think you need that. Like, mine was Reynolds, and I wasn't on him at first, and it was just kind of, I was looking around at that spot. And like we were talking a little earlier in the chat room, leave that utility spot open. If you don't put Ford at the utility, put him up at first base, and it allows you to have that salary where you can kind of look around and figure out who you want to plug in there. Because again, you could have went Peterson there; it would have been fine. Grandal, there was a bunch of plays you could have thrown in there. But yeah, I mean, I know some people, there are great plays that didn't pan out. That's going to happen in cash games, man. That doesn't always pan out for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But I saw a lot of lineups this morning that looked fantastic. So.
To that point you were saying with Ford in the utility spot, the only time you would pretty much put him there like I did, because you can look over and, he's making fun of Chop. He's got Ford in the utility. I had Sam Travis up there as one of my Boston pieces right out of the chute. And so that's the only place Ford can go. And when you're that set on the big offenses, and that's what it has to, and that's just what it has to be. What I did not do was pick up Trent Grisham for whatever reason. I did not see him last night, even though I was on Milwaukee. I loved their matchup. I just did not see him for whatever reason. And so he was never in my lineup. I'm building without him. If I've got him, now I might get rid of Sam Travis, go up to an Aguilar. Right. I might get rid of Turner and go up to a Moustakas. My lineup might take on a different bend. But because I didn't see him, it actually sort of worked out in my favor luckily, because I was able to keep the lineup intact and it happened to squeak by you. So, whatever.
Yeah. Let's go one question here. Chuma says your third key to cash games is look at ownership. Do you mind talking about that a little bit? So the ownership piece is, especially if say I'm looking at pitcher, right? And yesterday was a good example. If I'm looking at, say, Morton and Giolito and cash, and I'm on the fence between them, and I really think that they have a similar projection, I'll look at the ownership and see who's going to be talked up more, because I figured that's I don't want to be beaten by a pitcher, especially if they're similar projected guys. I'll go with a guy that's going to be more chalky in cash, and it was Morton. He was talked up everywhere, so it kind of just made that decision a little easier for pitcher. And then also, I just kind of see where the ownership projections are going to go, and kind of look at some guys that I might not be on that I think it might be a good fade. But bring those up to our chat group, man, and we can talk through those throughout the day. If there's a guy that you're seeing popping that might not be on my sheet or somebody else's sheet, but the ownership percentage is up there, and then we can kind of talk through those guys.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that.
Let's look at today's slate a little bit, man, and kind of see who we're going to attack.
Hey, while you're setting that up, how's the August hybrid stuff going right now? I mean, we're only a couple days in, but anything to talk about?
No, because they're so kind of boom or bust. I did well last night in my hybrid, and it made up for 2 of the nights because I was down three nights that I've been. This is the 4th night I've been doing it. So I was up last night that covered 2 of the losing nights, but I'm still down overall in the hybrid stuff. But again, it's when those hybrid lineups go off, man, they can make up for 10, 15 days of hitting around the cash line or being down. So I really think I'm going to keep doing it all month and then kind of seeing where it's at. But yeah, they'll make you a little bit more nervous doing them that route, because they're not as safe.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that goes back into the whole bankroll discussion about how much of your bankroll do you really put out there. Everybody preaches, 80, 20, 10 or whatever, with that 10% of your budget going to, if you've got $1,000 in your bankroll, put $100 a day out there. I would never tell somebody to do that unless they can convince me they're comfortable with it.
Sure.
When it comes down to baseball itself. I mean, NBA and the other sports are different. Baseball, hockey are very volatile sports, PGA, and so I would tend to cut my playback 5%, or even in some cases even more, because you can go on those long losers, like you said, and yeah, it can make up for itself, 10 or 15 days worth of losing. But how many of you can get to day 14 of losing and still sit there and go, I need to still put $100 a day out there because my bankroll balance is now down to $350. I mean, that's frightening shit.
You just got to keep adjusting what works for you with your bankroll. There's no cut and dry, this is the way you should do it. You should always be, like I said, looking at your results, see what you're good at. What do you profit in? Where's your ROI at? And focus more on that, man. I mean, some guys are better cash game players, some are better MME. I will say this, there's some, if you take your MME and if you MME all the time and you put them in and look at your results every day, you will definitely see the swings if you're an MME player. And sometimes people don't want to do that because it can be ugly. And then you hit that one smash, 20, 30, 50, 100K, whatever it is, and you pull back a lot of that, because you'll have good days and bad days of doing that. So you'll see a lot more swings. With cash approach, you should see, more of a gradual incline and decline, and it's a lot less risk averse for people with a little less bankroll that are trying to get there. Let's
we can fire this up if you want. Look at this.
So what pictures are you looking at, Chop? Because I glanced today a little bit, and it's freaking dumpster fire for me, man, because no one's close to that 30% K rate at all. All these guys at the top, Kershaw, Barry's at home against an Atlanta team I don't really want to attack. Wheeler pops off at first because he's, at home against a Miami team that strikes out. Greinke, we saw what Houston does to pitchers, man. They take Suarez and stinking dude almost goes out there and pitches a no-hitter. Are they going to do that to Greinke as well? But, I know Colorado bats and have got to him a little bit in the past. But out of those top 4 guys, man, like who are you looking at?
Well, that's what I had to do. So I go through our research station, and the first thing I do is I sort by K score, over in that little chop shop section. And immediately what I first saw in that first like 5, 6, 7, 8 names was a bunch of really, really small sample size dudes. And that freaks me out for a cash game type build because I got no sample, I got no track record.
Right.
So I kind of tried to dismiss them at first, even though they've got high K scores today, because I just don't trust them yet. And so I'm looking for the names that I trust, and I scrolled over to the right and looked at Vegas odds, looking for the guys with the minus 150 or better. And we got a lot of minus 200s. So I'm automatically looking at Wheeler, Greinke, Kershaw, maybe some Berrios, and they're all kind of in that same, upper $9,000 to low $11,000 price range. And so who's got the K score? Well, today it's Wheeler. Who's got the matchup? Well, if you don't like Miami, it's still Wheeler. They've all got about the same Vegas odds. So I'd probably start with Wheeler. And
let me, I'm sorry, while you're talking this real quick, I'm going to drag this over here real quick so you can kind of speak to it. Since you were talking, this is our research station here for MLB for you guys that don't know. So Chop can kind of speak to this, what he's talking about with K score and the pitchers up
That's
there.
in that. You've got the pitchers tab up, which if you don't know is down there on the bottom when it opens up. There's 3 dots. You click on those. That pitcher tab will open up as the default. And then what you're looking at, if you scroll just to the right like Keg did, Chop Shop, that yellow bar, that yellow set of columns. You've got K score and W score. And just to briefly explain to anybody that might not be a DFS Army member, what the K score is it is a strikeout metric that sort of measures upside matchup based. So what we're doing is we're adding the pitcher's strikeout ability to the team he's facing's ability to strike out, which should level the playing field. A guy can be low in one area, be facing a team that's super high in strikeouts, and it can actually give him a better matchup or more upside than a guy who's a better strikeout pitcher that's facing a team that, hits to contact a little bit more. So I'm looking for a number somewhere over around 500 if I can find it. Today we can't. The guys that are over 500 are all small sample guys. I'll take that K-score column, click that little triangle, and I'll sort by descending and bring all of the big K-score guys up to the top. And that's typically where I'm going to start. And this is the way I do it. Everybody does it differently, but this is how I do it. And I automatically see small sample, Lamet, who we're not exactly too trusting of, but dude has upside. And then you see Wheeler. Like, okay, so that's the highest K-score of the guys, the known names. Then we get to a Norris, we get to Yamamoto, and we're like, whatever. And then Greinke. Well, Greinke just switched teams, and Greinke's a little bit of a head case. So maybe that works for him, maybe it doesn't. To me, it gives me enough pause where I might still look at Wheeler's my leader in the clubhouse. I go down a little bit more. I see Kershaw, and I go, wait. The Cardinals typically don't, and this is a weird theory, but it does affect my cash mind, where I go, I don't trust Kershaw as much today to have a ceiling type game. I expect he'll still hit his floor, but I don't expect him to have as big a ceiling as he usually does because he's had trouble with the Cardinals in the past. Cardinals typically hit known pitchers very well. They can't handle the newbie like last night, and that's just a Cardinal MO going back to the Tony La Russa days. Will it work today? Don't know, but in my mind, with my recency bias, it affects me. Then I scroll down a little bit more, and I find like a Berrios who has upside to break a slate. But tonight, based on his matchup, he's got a lower K score than everybody else. So to me, I don't see a lot outside of that. If you don't want to really take a lot of risk, I would look at Zach Wheeler. I would maybe give a little pause to a Greinke or a Kershaw if you really love those guys and you've got your own reasons. But if I was not going Wheeler, I'd probably pay all the way down. I might take a shot at Lamet, but I'm not doing that in cash.
No.
Not at all.
No.
I would be doing that in hybrids or GPP type lineups to get a completely different build and get onto different bats, get into the bigger Boston stacks as opposed to tonight, which is where we're headed, which is going to be a lot of value bats that are very similar to last night's value bats. So, I mean, that's my synopsis. Sorry it took so long.
No, it's fantastic. I'm glad we pulled this up, and it's something I think we should do when we do these. I think you do a fantastic job of explaining this and kind of what you're looking at, and it gives members and people that aren't DFS Army members a glance of what we're looking at and the tools that we offer, and that's fantastic. And again, right there it tells you a Wheeler, and that's who my first glance I was gonna plug in Wheeler there. I think he's gonna be your chalk pitcher. Again, this is early, things can change, but as now, if I've been looking around, I think Wheeler's gonna probably be your chalk pitcher. And then for me, it's followed by either Greinke or Kershaw, and then like Chop was mentioned, Lamet down there for hybrids I love, so you can just get bats. However, as we talked about, we got matchups with similar guys today. We got Ford against Wars. If he's in the lineup again, he's 2,300. Fly ball pitcher, I'll take Ford all day at 2,300. Maybe hit another bomb because that's all you're hoping for him anyways at that price. Go FanDuel slow on their algo to price guys up. Got Aquino again. If he hits in the 4-hole against Suarez, no problem going there again. It's cheap. Then I like a lot of these right-handers against LeBlanc. Like you have your Myers, 2,600. You got your Renfro's, 2,900. Guys like that are pretty cheap, that you can still pay up for some bats. So
throw Renfro in there and see where's your average salary at.
let's throw Renfro in there.
I mean, he's a little more boomer bust typically than a cash player, but he's 2,900. It's a little too cheap for him for that double dong upside.
Yeah, no, I mean for 2,900, again, I'll play a couple of these, Padres bats. But like we're saying, it's one of those slates again where you don't have to get crazy and pay down at pitching because we're going to have the value again.
Look at that. You're at 3,360 already.
Yeah, and so there's no reason to pay down for pitching. And so
yeah, you don't even need Renfro if you don't want him.
No. I mean, if you didn't throw that, you still have what? The 3,300. You have plenty of salary to build whatever you want to. If these guys are in the starting lineup, I would assume Aquino's definitely going to be in there against a lefty. And then, Ford against with the way the Yankees have been, with their injuries and stuff and how he went yard last night. I don't know why they wouldn't put him in there against a fly ball pitcher. So I can see those guys being in there. And I think that's the value I would start with, man. I mean, like, we could also go back to Cincinnati again, man. Like, I think Peraza's still 2K. Now he's more of a hybrid type for me than a cash guy, but at 2K, he opens up stuff. Like he usually hits down the bottom of the order, but he's got stolen base upside and everything else. But I don't mind throwing him in there as well. I mean, look at that. You can play whoever the hell you want to.
Were you surprised to see Iglesias in like the 5-hole last night?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's usually down in the 7 or 8 hole. So
he's usually a 7 or 8 guy. That was kind of interesting.
So these guys kind of flip-flopped in that lineup last night, and it was fun. But I think cash lineups, don't overthink it, man. Pay it for pitching. Find a couple value guys like we talk about. Grisham's legit for sure. I like him if he's the top of the order. He's against a lefty, so we just gotta be cognizant of that and make sure he's in the lineup starting again. But he is against a lefty today. So let's just make sure he's up there. But yeah, Grisham's been tearing the ball up. And if he's up there and you throw him again, say again, like we did last time, throw 3 of these cheap guys in, almost $3,500 to spend. So,
right, you can go get any stack you want with that. I mean,
anybody.
Like you said with not overthinking it for cash. So what if everybody's on Wheeler? So what if everybody's on Ford and Aquino or whatever? Who cares? Even Grisham. Believe me, you can now go anywhere you want to go inside the top studs of the DFS salaries. And you can take on 20 or 30 head-to-heads tonight. You will not see an identical lineup. And that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
You don't want to be splitting money with everybody, but everybody hears that and they get afraid of the chalk, like, oh my God, I can't play chalk. Everybody's going to be the same. I would challenge anyone to go back to a year or 2 years deep in your own history and show me the number of times you've actually tied somebody, not with a tie score, but with an absolutely identical lineup. It doesn't exist. It is so hard to do. That's why they're so easy to spot as lineup sellers out there in the real world. But honestly, you're going to be different in 1 bat, 2 bats, 3 bats, whatever, even with this core starting right here. So don't sweat that so much in cash games because it's really just not that big of a deal.
No, 100%. Someone asked about Bichette. I have no. Bichette's just been smashing the ball, and I've been playing him, but he's priced up to 3,600. Again, you have the salary to play these guys. If he's leading off again, I have no problem going back to him, man. I mean, he's been cash money since he's been called up, and his price is getting up there. But like we said, if these 3 value pieces are going to be there tonight, I'm going to have them in my cash lineup, and then you just build around that.
Do you have any other main stacks you're really looking at tonight? Or, I mean, is it really just this simple where it's here's your core, go from there?
For
I mean, are you back on New York or back on Boston tonight? I mean, Houston, the big stacks. I mean, is there anyone that's really sticking out to you, like somebody that you really want a piece of, like Cleveland or something like that?
Well, like, I
And
don't
I don't
mind.
mean stacking cash. I just mean like
Yeah, for like a hybrid or
offense
like
in a great
just
spot that you're really
GPPs.
running to, saying I need a bat or two from here.
Like I said, I think the Padres won't be as highly owned as they should with going against LeBlanc. I kind of like them. I don't mind the Cleveland Indians a little bit. You know, that's a spot that I don't mind looking at. The Yankees, like Walsh has been crazy. Like I don't know, what you're going to get out of him. Like lately, I think the last time he was out, he sucks, and the Yankees can smash this guy around because he's a fly ball pitcher. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of him. So I don't. If the Yankees are going to be popular today, when we check later on, I don't think I'd want that in tournaments. Don't mind tagging him a few spots in cash like Ford. And then the Brew Crew, I don't mind going back to them as well.
I agree there, absolutely.
But I don't know. What are you looking at, Chop, besides those three?
I did have Cleveland pop because this is actually a really quick and cheap way to go through assembling a small player pool where I'll go through either Research Station or Domination Station. With Domination Station, with the hybrid scoring thing that we do, now that is live and open for everybody that's a VIP member, I love the idea of organizing by hybrid score and then picking the top 5 at each position just to get a feel for who Domination Station is really going to like. And it seemed like it really liked Cleveland tonight. They're in each of their main infielders in the top 5 of each position. So I might dig in a little bit there when I go looking. Milwaukee obviously popped again because they've got a very low graded pitcher that they're facing tonight in the Research Station. It's just a couple little methods like that you bounce around to. You kind of get some ideas, and then you go digging in and seeing if they still keep making sense. The more you dig, the more they make sense. The more you like them, the more you play them.
Yeah, so you're talking about is it the hybrid score you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to show people that, it's really
Yeah,
pretty simple to get to. Just call it Domination Station.
Nope, let me got it. I got it pulled up. Let me just slide her over here.
Yeah, and again, this is just something that our members, really quick, really easy if you don't have a lot of time. You read Keg's sheet, you read the coach's sheet, you do a little bit of this. For people who aren't members, this is why you need access to these tools. I mean, legit. So you're on the main slate, FanDuel slate right there, right?
Yep.
So in that column down there with all the green, red, orange, yellow stuff, lower down to the player pool, down in there you can see hybrid score. You click it, it sorts by descending order. It brings all the top rated, top scorer. And what hybrid scoring is essentially just a blend between our DFSA grades and our projections. And it kind of gives you a consensus logically. You don't have to be all projection. You don't have to be all DFSA grade. You can kind of combine the two factors together. And what you're looking at here now is Kershaw has the highest, pitching hybrid score on the night. So, okay, so maybe you like Kershaw over Wheeler. But look, the guys we're talking about are right there, 1, 2, 3. Yep. And then right after that, you've got, your Trouts. And, okay, fine, you could probably afford him tonight with some of that value. But what I'll do is I'll go click in position by position.
Let's start. Let's do outfield and see what the outfield's popping real quick.
Yeah, I mean, start anywhere you want. I usually do catcher, and then I just scroll to the right. But if you do outfield, there's your top 10 guys. You get 3 outfielders.
There's Reyes right there.
You don't have to pick just one shortstop. You can pick 3 outfielders. So take your list down to, say, the top 10, and boom, there's Reyes in Cleveland.
Yep.
Right up there towards the top. Now, is that the end-all, be-all? No. But that's going to give you a very good idea of maybe where to start your research. Look at these guys that are popping in the hybrid score, that are popping in the Research Station, that are popping around the industry and ownership projections. And it helps you get an efficient cash game mindset started quickly.
100%. And that's a great point bringing that up. And what I do is kind of figure out where I'm at and then go to these tools and kind of see what it is. And that really makes me more confident on some of the picks I was bringing up. Like we talked about Renfroe and Myers. I mean, Renfroe's in the top 10 and Myers is right there. And then we talked about the Cleveland bats with Franmil Reyes, and then Puig right there. So that just kind of solidifies that, okay, I definitely got to look at these guys a little bit more because they're popping in our tools and they're in good spots that we like.
Yeah, and I will do that as part of my routine every day. I'll just go check those hybrid scores, write down the top 5, and like I circled Santana, Kipnis, Ramirez, Lindor, and I'll go back and circle Reyes now that he's not a Padre anymore. And that gives me 5 dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to stack them all, but I'll probably take Lindor. or maybe a couple others, because I'll have the money to reach for those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll help me put together a very, very good cash lineup with some very solid, consistent players that are also in a very, very good matchup. That's why they're popping in our tools.
100%. Again, that's just
I didn't have to read a newspaper. I didn't have to listen to 3 hours worth of podcasts on my subway ride into work today. I mean, my research is done in 15 or 20 minutes. Or at least it's pointed in a solid direction. Where now, if I have 3 hours today, I can go dig, or I can just wait for Keg to put out his sheet and just go off of that. It's that simple.
It is, and we got so much information out there, and it's just go in and ask questions. Again, once we put that information out there, it's not static; it moves constantly. So be in there asking questions, figure out if we've changed our mind on something. Everyone's here to help. Everyone at the DFS Army, we're a community that wants to help you with your research. We want to see you win. We love when our members win. And these are a few tools that we can use on top of everything else we have. Another thing is with CG in chat here, once he drops his stacks, I love to see them because I want to see if they're popping in maybe someone that I'm looking at in my hybrid, if I want to stack some of those guys and where they're at and maybe who's going to be chalky and whatnot. But I love to see who his top 5 stacks are every day. So there's just so many tools out there. And I really hope people are profitable tonight, man.
Yeah, for sure. That's the whole point of doing this, is to recap yesterday, see where we differed, why we differed. Maybe people can glean a little bit of our processes off of that, and then turn around and talk a little bit about today and see if we don't land on the same page, which it looks like our core is going to be similar, and then I'll just go screw you up and I'll stack the Marlins or something tonight.
Hey, man, go for it. Go for it if you want to, but it should be fun. I think we'll probably be on similar pitchers, and it should be fun, and we'll come back tomorrow and do this, and we got NFL preseason come up. I'll probably be dropping that video for subs only. It's not going to be out here. It's just going to be subs only for DFS Army members only. I should state that. DFS Army members only for that NFL preseason. And that'll be either tomorrow or Thursday morning. But we'll be back on here doing MLB tomorrow, Chop, if you're free.
I can make it work, absolutely.
Awesome.
Anytime you ask.
Fantastic, man. So, if you don't, give me a follow. Give me a sub if you want a chance to win one of these sweet T-shirts like this, man. It's extremely comfortable. Let's let me know if over on YouTube, man. Tell me who's going to be the highest scoring FanDuel pitcher today. I want to see what your guys' thoughts are. So, if that's it,
the highest scoring FanDuel pitcher.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Leave a comment on YouTube, and I'm curious what it is, because it's, like I said, it's kind of a dumpster fire today. So I'm curious what people's thoughts are on that. So again, we will see you tomorrow, and we will see you in the chat rooms. Deuces.
All right. Peace out, homies.